Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our virtual hybrid and in-person service. My name is Karen, and I would like to thank you for attending this morning's Dharma family service. We will begin this service with a moment of quiet sitting. Tara will strike the bell, and we will sit for 1 or 2 minutes to quiet our minds and prepare to hear the Dharma. Then she will strike the bell again, and we will continue with the service.
Namo Midabutsu. Namo Midabutsu. Namo Midabutsu. Namanda, Namanda.
Tara will now chant the Sambutsuge, which is on page 79 of the large service book.
Namanda, 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 Namanda. 神道大仙感が差仏在所法波動生じ未不下脱不正上位解任精進如是三昧知恵以上五世特仏不行志願一切空空一切大安平死有仏百千億万無量大小修行五者供養一切死と小仏不尿愚道検証不逆非尿五者小仏世界不不影無臭節路光明師匠変死小国尿税精進偉人南路両が差仏国道第一公衆奇妙道場超絶国尿内音二無闘争がと愛民道脱一切実法来所心熱症状意図が国家楽安穏好物神妙是が心象骨眼の非力少所欲実法生存知恵無下上路子孫知が信行軽量心死食読書家業精進人 Namandas, 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 namandas.
Please rise, if you are able, to follow along with the Gatha, A Special Place, which is on the handout. Please remain standing for the reading of the Golden Chain 2.
There is a square upon the floor, an island in the sea, a place I visit every week, a spot that's just for me. When I sit upon that square, I leave my cares outside. All anger is forgotten. The Dharma is my guide. There is a special something here. It's something you can see. For kindness lives within this place. It lives inside of me. Amrita stands inside the shrine, a smile upon his face. I smile right back. I'm glad to be here in this special place. Now there's time to sit and think of all that I can do to care for those around me each day, the whole week through. This is a home to gentle thoughts when sitting quietly. For kindness lives within this place. It lives inside of me. It lives inside of me.
I will now read the Golden Chain 2 on page 15 of the large service book. Please feel free to follow along. Golden Chain 2. I am a link in the Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We'll now have a children's Dharma talk by Tara.
Will you all please join me in Gassho and put your palms together? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman. Good morning, everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Tara. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a minister assistant here at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. So that means I help out Reverend Kuwahara when he's busy. I'd like to just start out and actually just share a few scenarios when I made a mistake. And so when I was in school, sometimes I would maybe forget to finish and turn in a homework assignment. Try not to do that too often, but sometimes it happens. Or maybe I made a mistake or multiple mistakes on math tests. Or maybe I accidentally spelled a word wrong. I'd always get papers back or essays back with lots of edits, often in that red ink, but my Latin teacher liked to use green. And so in school, whenever I made a mistake, I realized that I always had someone to help me learn from the mistake, whether it was a teacher or a friend or a parent maybe. I always had someone who could help me learn the right answer, or maybe sometimes I would have to ask someone to help me understand. So like in high school, for example, I struggled a lot in my math class, and so after school, I would go to see my teacher for some help, or I would go to the library to study because there were some students who had already taken the math class there to help. And so every time that I went in to get some help, I was able to learn more. And I was able to begin to understand more about the math concepts that I'd originally been struggling with and making mistakes on my homework or tests. And so one other type of mistake that I made, and this one was in middle school. I remember there was one time that I stayed up really late to finish a school project. And so the next day I had a math test, and so because I was really tired, I made a lot of mistakes on that math test and did very poorly. So what did I learn from that mistake of staying up too late? I learned that it was important for me to get good sleep and rest the day before a test, or really just in general, so that I could do my best the next day. And so now I have a question for all of you. How many of you have made a mistake before? And for those of you online, most hands are being raised. And so I'm not going to ask you to share because I know it can be hard. But I would like to invite you all to kind of reflect. Okay, think of a mistake, and what is something that you learned from the mistake? And it can be something simple, like I learned how to do that math problem right, to something maybe a little bigger, like, oh, make sure I sleep before a test. All right. And so I make mistakes all the time. I probably made a bunch today, even today, as an adult. And so recently, at work, I accidentally called someone the completely wrong name. And I felt so bad, and I was worried that I had hurt their feelings. And so quickly I told them sorry and checked in to see if they were okay. And they said it was okay. They said it was fine. But sometimes my feelings like to stick around a little bit and just kind of bug me a little bit and keep feeling bad. And so I talked to some people I trust, like my friends or a parent, and it helps me to process and talk through those emotions that I'm feeling, and then hopefully learn from that mistake. In this case, I kept practicing saying this person's name in my head so I wouldn't make that mistake again. And so we are all human, and in Buddhism, we learn that because we are all human, we also make mistakes. We are imperfect because we are foolish beings. We are bonbu. And so one more quick story. So when I was tabling at Cherry Blossom Festival in San Francisco, We had a lot of different temples there, tabling, and one of them was the San Mateo Buddhist Temple, and so Reverend Henry Adams was there too. So as we were tabling, we got all kinds of questions, and so someone decided to come up to us and had a statement, and they said, "I have a friend who's Buddhist, and she's not nice." And I froze. I was like, I don't know what to say to this. So luckily, I had Reverend Henry Adams there, who jumped in and said, there's a difference between a Buddhist and a Buddha. There's a difference between a Buddhist and a Buddha. And so first of all, I was very thankful that he was there. And also, I really appreciated what he had shared. It was a reminder. It was a good reminder that we are all Buddhists. We aren't Buddha. And so that means that we are learning and that we are practicing. We are trying to do our best. We're trying to practice. We are practicing being patient. We are practicing kindness. And sometimes we make mistakes along the way because we're human. We are learners. And so what is important is that we put in that effort and keep trying our best. And when we do make a mistake, it's important to learn from it. And something I've learned is that mistakes are opportunities to learn and to grow. And whether it is a mistake on schoolwork or another everyday mistake, sometimes also mistakes can be difficult and make us feel sad or feel bad. And when we feel this way, it's our body telling us that we care about doing well, that we care about doing the right thing. And so something I've learned is how important it is to really be able to talk about those feelings with someone that you trust. And so I'll just close out saying I encourage all of you to remember that we are Buddhist, we are not Buddha. And when we do make a mistake, to ask, okay, what can I learn from this mistake? Who can help me learn from this mistake? Will you all please join me in Gassho? Namo Mira Butsu. Namo Mira Butsu. Namo Mira Butsu. Namandas Namanda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tara, for your wonderful Dharma message for the students about mistakes. That's applicable to all of us. And I think if you stop making mistakes, then it means you're not learning anymore. So keep on doing it. See, now we would like to welcome a new guest to our service. There's Dia here in the second row. We have Aaron and Janie. Did I pronounce that correctly? Tegan's friend Juliana. And Karen, Ford, and Carson. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the service. I'll now read the announcements that have been submitted. If you have any announcements to be read at the Sunday service and to be included in the announcement slide, please send it into the temple office by Friday before the service. On Thursday, September 29th at 6:30, we will have the BBT Dharmanar, which is a monthly online study session led by Reverend Kurahara. The topic this month will be mindfulness. There is a sign-up link on the slide and on the website. On Sunday, October 2nd at 9:30 in the morning, we will have our monthly Shotsuki Memorial Service, followed by virtual yoga immediately afterwards. And on Wednesday, October 5th at 7 p.m., we'll have an online meditation and discussion, also led by Reverend Kurahara. The sign-up link, again, is on the slide and the website. Now the students will be dismissed to their classes. Would Dharma School students please go to the front, Oshoko, and go to your classrooms? All others are invited to remain for the adult Dharma talk. We will now have an adult Dharma talk by Tara.
Will you all please join me in Gasho? Let's put our palms together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. All right, thank you. All right, so in past talks, I've talked a lot about mental health and the importance of talking about it and the importance of being connected to our emotions and how they're impacting us. And so I've spoken about this a little bit before, but today I'm going to share a little more about the anxiety I experience and live with every day. That makes things like public speaking, speaking to my boss, or my boss's boss, or my boss's boss's boss, or just general social interactions, really difficult sometimes. And so first, I have some questions for you. How many of you reread an email before sending it? How many of you reread the email after sending it? And how many of you just send it? Okay, so how many of you have had an interview and then afterwards think, oh, I wish I had said this? Or how many of you have had a presentation or maybe had an update at an important meeting or really just any social interaction with other people and afterwards think, oh, why did I say that? All right, so think about those situations and then how long did you dwell on it? A few minutes? 30 minutes? An hour? Maybe kept you up late at night? Maybe kept popping into your head days later? All right, so how many of you identify as a perfectionist? See a couple of hands up here. And all of you online, you're welcome to drop it in the chat or think it to yourself or raise your hand as well. That's me. I'm the person who will worry about something I did or said or emailed to the point where it can keep me up at night or it invades all of my thoughts and can make it really hard to focus on other things. In the mental health world, this is often called rumination, which means kind of continually spinning or thinking about something where it really consumes your thoughts, impacts what you're doing, and also to the point where sometimes I'm putting myself down. And so I think this anxiety stems from a few things, but one of the main things is how I now identify as a perfectionist. And I say now because I used to not identify as a perfectionist. I used to think that being a perfectionist was having really nice, clean handwriting. Not my handwriting, where every A looks different than the next A. Or I thought it was making sure my hair and makeup were like perfectly done, and I don't put on makeup, and I throw my hair in a ponytail. Or I thought maybe being a perfectionist was having a clean room and everything kind of folded just right, which, unfortunately I try to do, but doesn't always happen. But in the last few years, I have come to realize that I'm a perfectionist because, my handwriting isn't perfect and my hair and my room aren't perfect. I want the event I plan to be perfect. For some reason, I want 0 emails in my inbox, and that's perfect to me. So it drives me crazy seeing my dad's 30,000 something emails, but try not to look at that. I want my volunteers for an event to have a perfect or good experience. I want my presentation at work or my assignment or my speech that I give to be perfect. And I want my interactions with other people to be right, or go the right way, or be perfect. And I'll get to what that means in a little bit. And so I actually began to identify as a perfectionist, oddly enough, at my last job. And so my last job, I was a county social worker, and there was just too much to do, not enough time, even with overtime. How many can kind of relate to the not enough time to do all the things, personal work, whatever? Yeah, so me and my coworkers, we would be working overtime because between all of the home visits and going to court and meetings to set up visits and meetings to create case plans and meeting with families and making sure children and youth are good in their home, how are we going to have time to really engage those families and really write our court reports that have strict deadlines or make a referral to services like therapy? And so there just, wasn't, if we had a typical caseload, there wasn't enough time, even with overtime, to do all the things, let alone perfectly. And so I'd leave the office with this to-do list each day and trying to prioritize things. And so on top of this, of not being able to do perfect work, and that and the emotional toll and the bureaucracy and struggles with social justice, I just felt like I couldn't properly support the children, youth, and families I was supposed to be supporting. And so because of all this, I began to seek therapy. I was looking for a therapist, and so one of the first ones I met with, don't still see her, but she did say something that really stood out to me. And so she said, "You don't always have to do A-level work. Sometimes it's okay to do B or even C-level work." And this blew my mind. I had never even thought about doing less than A-level work, even though sometimes I probably did. But honestly, at the time, all I could think was, oh, but these children and the families, they deserve that A-level work. They deserve that perfect work. And so later, when I talked to my supervisor about my struggles, she said, often people in this unit, often they're perfectionists. And then I realized, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And so I realized that all of this perfectionism, I had to figure this out, and I wasn't going to be able to do it at this job. And so I have since left the job, and I've still been working on this. And so fast forward now to today, where I still see this mentality of wanting to have a perfect talk, a perfect presentation, a perfect whatever that is, conversation with other people, where I have this really high, unrealistic expectation for myself. And so I'm going to expand upon the example I gave to the Dharma school students. So recently I was in a work meeting, and we're all doing this icebreaker where we popcorn, so that means we call on the next person to answer the question. And so I called on the next person and just called them completely the wrong name. And I felt so bad. I apologized for messing up their name, and the meeting went on. But this incident did not end in my head. I was mortified. I couldn't understand how I called them the wrong name. Maybe I mixed up the letters in my head from the first and last name, and rationally thinking, okay, this person was newer. I don't work with them a whole lot, and I still felt bad. And rationally, I knew that I had, done all I could do after making a mistake. I apologized, owned the mistake, but it was still stuck in my head. And so my current therapist encourages me to check in with people when I have these moments. So this is one of the strategies, and so I did apologize, and I checked in with the person who I had called the wrong name, and she's like, oh, it's fine. But I was still stuck. Okay. So then I tried checking in with my partner, told him everything that happened. I later told a friend, and they're all telling me it's okay. And eventually, after a lot of support and time, I was able to stop dwelling on it. So this sort of incident, not necessarily always like this, calling someone the wrong name, but times when I make a mistake or I feel bad about it, something I said, or I dwell on it much longer than I would like to. And sometimes to that point where I have trouble sleeping, or it'll just randomly pop into my head and distract me again. And I'm working on it. And so something I've learned is there's no such thing as perfect. This is something my current supervisor said. And in Buddhism, we're taught, that we're Bonbu. We're human, and so like Reverend Henry Adams says, we're Buddhist. So we make mistakes. And so what does that mean? All these things, I want to be perfect. My interactions with other people, my presentations, my work assignments, my events. That means they can't always be perfect, or they can't be perfect. And what really matters is that we put in that right effort, that we do the best we can with the time and the resources and what we do have. And so as I was writing this message today, I realized that many ministers, when they talk about Buddhism, It's normally referred to as Buddhist practice, or we are practicing dana, or we're practicing selfless giving, we're practicing patience. And so while I'm still wrapping my head around this, and I'm definitely still learning, but I think for me, kind of this realization of, oh, I'm Buddhist, not Buddha, this realization that we're practicing Buddhism is my first little baby step towards accepting that everything I do and say can't be perfect. So again, I'd just like to encourage you all to ask yourself when you make a mistake, ask, what can I learn from this mistake? Who can I go to help? Who can I go to help me learn from this mistake or help me process my feelings about the mistake? So thank you all for listening. Will you please join me in Gasho? Namo Mirabutsu. Namo Mirabutsu. Namo Mirabutsu. Namandas. Namandas. Thank you all so much. All right. So now I'd like to read the thank you announcements. So I'd like to thank Karen for jumping in at the last minute to be our chairperson today. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Bradley and Myron, for your help today during today's live stream service, doing all this behind the scenes. Thank you, Tony, also for jumping in last minute for monitoring the chat room on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Emiko and the music committee for the beautiful music today. Thank you to the COVID-19 committee for helping keep our members safe. And thank you, September Tobon, for preparing our refreshments that we can enjoy later. And also, thank you to all of you for joining us in person and online. Welcome to our guests today. If you have any questions, feel free to come up to me or one of our other members. We're so happy to see all of you today. So thank you for joining us. So this concludes today's service. And so thank you again and see you next Sunday.